I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country.
Donald Trump has taken such a hard stance against cartels, securing our borders, getting these gangs and drugs out of our country.
6:22 in the evening. The Gulf Coast was beginning to fade into shadow. The Waterfront mansions sat in silence behind iron gates. Private docks and rows of trimmed hedges. The last rays of the sun reflected across the black water. The neighborhood looked untouchable, wealthy, orderly, sealed off from the chaos that consumed other parts of the country. But as the streetlights flickered on that illusion, was already breaking apart. Without sirens, without flashing lights, without a single marked patrol car in sight. More than 140 federal agents from the DEA, FBI, and Homeland Security moved into position around a $14 million waterfront estate registered to one of the most respected shipping executives on the Gulf Coast. Tactical teams sealed the street. Marine units cut off the canal behind the property. Drone surveillance hovered overhead in total silence. This was not a routine narcotic search. This was not a financial inspection. This was a federal strike, and what agents were about to uncover inside that mansion would not just expose a cartel into cocaine pipeline. It would expose something far more disturbing. A hidden payroll, monthly payments, court names, badge numbers, delayed warrants, quiet legal protection. A system so deeply compromised that one senior investigator would later describe it in a single sentence. The cartel had not been hiding from the justice system. It had been operating through it. By midnight, 2.8 tons of cocaine would be seized. Tens of millions in cash would be stacked as evidence. And inside a concealed room, behind a mahogany bookshelf, federal agents would find the ledger that turned an narcotics raid into one of the most explosive judicial corruption cases the Gulf Coast had ever seen. Because this house was never just a stash site. It was an operations center, disguised as respectability. For nearly 9 years, Gabriel Soria Velez, 51, had cultivated the kind of public image that made scrutiny feel almost absurd. He was the founder and CEO of MAR, Azul Freight Holdings, a shipping and cold storage company with contracts stretching across 3 Gulf states. On paper, he looked legitimate. On paper, he looked successful. On paper, he looked protected by reputation alone. But federal analysts had begun to suspect that his business empire was serving another purpose. The case started 9 months earlier at a private marine terminal. Customs agents flagged a refrigerated container. The documentation looked clean, but the weight profile did not match. Inside a hidden steel compartment, agents found 64 kilograms of cocaine. That seizure was serious, but one detail changed everything. The container should have triggered an automatic inspection. It had been manually cleared. Someone had intervened. It was not an error. It was a pattern. Financial tracing lead agents toward a cluster of shell firms. Again and again, one name surfaced at the center of that web: Gabriel Soria Velez. 6:45 at night, the breach order was given. The front team hit the main entrance while a secondary team cut power to the guest wing. Gabriel Soria Velez was taken into custody in the upstairs master suite before he could reach a secured interior hallway. The raid moved fast. No long gunfight, no dramatic standoff, just disciplined, overwhelming federal force. Inside the garage, agents found custom-built compartments hidden inside to luxury. They recovered the first sealed cocaine bricks. Then the numbers began climbing. By 8 o'clock at night, field teams had confirmed more than 2.8 tons of cocaine hidden across 4 distinct zones. The purity level was unusually high. The cash count rose just as fast. Vacuum-sealed currency bundles were pulled from interior wall cavities and floor safes. By 11 at night, preliminary estimates had pushed past $46 million in physical cash. But the drugs and money were not the most dangerous thing inside the house. In Soria Velez's private office, one DEA agent noticed a structural inconsistency. Thermal scans confirmed a sealed void. When agents forced the mahogany bookshelf open, the investigation changed forever. The concealed room did not look like a trafficker's lounge. It looked like a legal control center. 3 wall-mounted monitors displayed archive docket screens and courthouse access feeds. A steel table held evidentiary, motion templates, and district maps. And on the desk, placed neatly in the center, was a leather-bound ledger. The title on the front cover read, Monthly Protections. An FBI financial crimes supervisor opened it slowly. The entries were meticulous: dates, amounts, initials, notes beside each transfer delay warrant. Continue hearing. Suppressed timing. Then came the names. Investigators identified recurring monthly disbursements tied to clerks, bailiffs, and most explosively to sitting judges. Payments ranged from $18,000 to $240,000 per month. The total documented in the ledger exceeded $96 million over just 3 years. This was not casual bribery. This was structured payroll. The implications were devastating. The cartel had built a legal protection architecture in advance and funded it, like a second business. 11:30 at night, parallel warrants were activated across the Gulf Coast corridor. Offices linked to Mara Azul Freight Holdings were sealed. A title company was raided. The trucking depots were frozen in place. The deeper investigators went, the worse it became. Forensic accountants identified more than 118 shell entities. Over $610 million had moved through real estate acquisitions alone. And every time scrutiny got too close, the system answered, a procedural hold. I delayed warrant. A hearing moved just far enough to let inventory disappear. Justice had not failed loudly. It had been softened, quietly. 6 in the morning, the federal response entered final sweep status. Operation Breakwater launched across 3 states with over 900 agents moving in unison. By midday, the scoreboard signaled the total collapse of a criminal empire. 2.8 tons of cocaine seized, $46 million in physical cash recovered, $310 million in accounts frozen, 47 arrests, including 3 judges and 11 court officials. The hard truth: Gabriel Sorriavelas didn't need to defeat the law. He only needed to compromise the system enough to ensure that justice always arrived too late. By nightfall, the Waterfront mansions stood empty. The drugs were stacked, the cash was counted, and the ledger, the most lethal object in the entire house, was in federal custody. But the deepest damage wasn't to property or commerce. This case won't be remembered for the kilos or the millions. It will be remembered for the ledger, for the proof that the most dangerous criminal systems don't always hide from the law. Sometimes, they learn to sit beside it. They learn to speak its language. Justice on the Gulf Coast didn't collapse in one night. It was softened over time, until crime no longer had to run from the system. It simply moved through it.